The reading for today is Helping, Fixing, or Serving by Dr. Rachel Remin. Service is not the same as helping. Helping is based on inequality. It's not a relationship between equals. When you help, you use your own strength to help someone with less strength. It's a one-up, one-down relationship, and people feel this inequality. When we help, we may inadvertently take away more than we give, diminishing the person's sense of self-worth and self-esteem. Now, when I help, I am very aware of my own strength, but we don't serve with our strength, we serve with ourselves. We draw from all our experiences. Our wounds serve, our limitations serve, even our darkness serves. The wholeness in us serves the wholeness in the other and the wholeness in life. Helping incurs debt. When you help someone, they owe you, but service is mutual. When I help, I have a feeling of satisfaction, but when I serve, I have a feeling of gratitude. Serving is also different to fixing. We fix broken pipes, we don't fix people. When I set about fixing another person, it's because I see them as broken. Fixing is a form of judgment that separates us from one another. It creates a distance. So, fundamentally, helping, fixing, and serving are ways of seeing life. When you help, you see life as weak. When you fix, you see life as broken. And when you serve, you see life as whole. When we serve in this way, we understand that this person's suffering is also my suffering, that their joy is also my joy, and then the impulse to serve arises naturally. Our natural wisdom and compassion presents itself quite simply. A server knows that they're being used and has the willingness to be used in the service of something greater. We may help or fix many things in our lives, but when we serve, we are always in the service of wholeness.
Oh my goodness. Somebody want to help me? No, I'm teasing. I am completely tangled up right now. My goodness gracious. Here we go. All righty. My Lord. Okay. I love that reading, and Justin brought forward the irony of the fact that we're talking about asking for help. And in fact, that reading, I believe, does put things in its proper perspective. That really what we're saying right now is, and what I want to reflect on for a few minutes, is what stops us, what does it mean when we are at the place and time in our life, be it in small ways or large, that we need to reach out and ask someone for help, ask someone to connect with us, ask for someone to be there. And I do believe very much in what was written, that it is about actually service. And I reread that reading with the word love, and it works just as well. So how many of you are the helpers in your life? Raise your hand if you are comfortable being the person who gives help rather than the one who receives or asks for help, be it in your family, your work, your friend group, or here at church. Oh, come on, raise your hand if you're more comfortable giving help than asking for it. And keep your hands raised if you are equally comfortable asking for help as you are giving it. There's a couple of us. Michael, I like your honesty, Michael. He's like, kind of. I've said this before, but when I came here, having spent much of my life, I was as a child in Pennsylvania, I knew that wasn't a New Englander, but then spending many years of my adult life in Connecticut, I thought I was a New Englander until I became the minister of this congregation. Then I learned that I was not a New Englander. I hug, and I love, and I ask, and I offer. And I cry, and I tell you that I make mistakes. So, raise your hand if you are comfortable at all asking for help. You can put them down. Most of us find it difficult, certainly more difficult to ask for help than to offer it. Some of us find it impossible. So I invite you, as I take a short homily here to reflect on this, to think honestly about yourself and your life. In any part of it, you can think about your work, you can think about your relationships here, your friendships, your family. As I said, most people find it difficult to ask for help. Those of us who have less difficulty with it have most likely been in situations in our lives where we have been forced to ask for help. I hope, if that's been the case for you, you've learned, as I have, that asking for help is not so bad. In fact, it can be beautiful and transformative. That's definitely my experience. Asking for help is one of the first things people in recovery from any addiction are taught to do. The sponsor or a person with more experience will encourage the person who's new to recovery to call 3, 4, or 5 people every day to develop their network of support. I remember the first time I heard that, and if I hadn't been as desperate as I was, I would have walked out those doors. Other people leave because they say this God thing. For me, it was that. Call 3 or 5 people every day. What? Are you kidding me? What do I say? Oh, that's okay. Just say hi. They'll take care of the rest. It is so much easier for us, you see, to learn to pick up the phone, and I'm not just talking about people in recovery at all, any of us, all of us. It's easier to learn to pick up the phone or reach out when we're not in a crisis. Then, when we are in times of need, picking up that phone or sending that email or reaching out will be natural and a relief. People talk about how heavy the phone is and how they feel like a burden when they do reach out. But you see, after a little while, they realize that asking for help and reaching out is as helpful to the person being asked as it is for the person asking for help, if not more. Asking for help, as I said, goes well beyond recovery. Being able to ask for and receive help is a universal necessity. Sooner or later, we will all need help. So I would ask you, actually, I better be careful. First of all, my clock is missing, so this is not good because I don't know what time it is. I'll try to stay to what I wrote, but I would ask you, even this morning, where have you asked for help? Because you have, whether you're conscious of it or not. Some of you may be very conscious of it. Perhaps you needed a ride. Perhaps you needed someone to watch a child or a loved one at home to be able to be here. But even when we don't recognize it, how do we get the food on our table? The heat, in our homes? How do we get to be who we are today without the help of so many people? Many an enduring friendship has started with a simple request for help, even from a stranger or someone here at church. I see this time and again asking for help between family members often brings about a new level of closeness and authenticity which never happened before. Folks have more real and intimate conversations during times of illness, serious illness, and death than all the years prior. I've had so many people say to me, I wish I had started this kind of conversation long ago. Why did I wait so long? How did I never know? Fill in the blank. See, when we're stripped of our facades or defenses, of which we all have many, including staunch independence, others get to see the beauty of our realness and then respond to that. We love each other when we understand other people's vulnerabilities. Think about it. Think about the people you love the most. Is it really because they're so perfect? Or is it those things about them that just make them dear to you? It's so much easier to love someone when we're not blinded by their achievements or their talents or their independence. I remember years ago asking a dear, dear colleague of mine how I would know if being a minister was the right calling for me. He replied to my question by telling me what he did the day before. He said, yesterday, I sat by the bedside of someone in the hospital, changed a light bulb in an elderly parishioner's apartment, and served communion to a shut-in. That sounds like heaven, I replied. I think you have your answer, he said, smiling, placing his hand on mine. And he was absolutely right, though he didn't mention many things that are also part of ministry, including that asking for help as frequently, if not more than offering it, was part of the job. There is no way I could minister to this church on my own. No way. You are the ones who love and care for one another. I just get to bear witness. You are the ones in large and small ways. You minister to each other all the time. I continue to be amazed by the ways you make this church hum, the ways you show up for one another, sometimes making sure that I know what's happening, the ways you reach out to offer and ask for help. It's inspiring, and as it should be. Caring for one another in our world is core to who we are as a faith community. I have an important request to that end, which is to invite all of you, longtime members, brand new friends, to join us in an online conversation next Tuesday, put on by the Program Council at 6:30, where we're going to talk about church in the aftermath and continuation of COVID. We need to regroup and to understand how to get folks back in the habit of coming to church, to understand what it is people are looking for and need, and how we can reach people so they know about all the great things that are going on here. I am asking for your help as we find our way through these times together. It was Difficult, I thought, when it was all about changing technology. Now I understand that was easy, because that's mechanical. We can make a lot of mistakes, but eventually we'll figure it out. Now we're talking about the lifeblood of this congregation. So join the discussion if you can. We need you. So what makes it so difficult to ask for help? Think about this for yourself. I'm sure the answers vary from person to person. However, there are common themes. First, let's face it, asking for help is vulnerable. Asking for help is vulnerable. The more we need the help, the more vulnerable it can feel. And that vulnerability alone stops many people from asking for what they want or need. People who can't afford to live in a particular area, who live in homes that look so perfect until someone gets inside. Another common obstacle to asking for help includes, and this is one for me, thinking that asking for help makes us indebted to the other person or people, somehow obligated to return the help in the future. And finally, the third thing I believe many of us share is that, above all, many of us fear that we will be rejected. We'll ask for help, and the other person or people will say no. So let me just reflect. If asking for help engenders you to have to return the favor, I would go so far as to say that may not be the person to ask. If at all possible. For ideally, we give and receive freely. We may give in one relationship or situation and receive in another. Again, I know I do. I may give a lot here. Trust me, I have my squad of folks who are giving back to me, helping me make way. It's not quid pro quo. And yes, sometimes people will say no, just as we need to decline sometimes. In fact, I think no is a very sacred word. More times than not, however, someone's no is not personal. It's actually their own process or journey or experience at that moment in their life. So the remaining question is, whom do we ask for help? And this question is worthy of consideration. Another time, I will preach about prayer, because I found it very interesting that we would be in a church and talk about whom do we ask for help, and not talk about our relationship to prayer, to the holy, to divine, to inspiration, to grace. That's another morning. But right now, when we think about people, asking the right thing of the right people is part of mastering the skill of discernment. Matching our ask with the person or people is key. Sometimes it is a friend or a family member. Sometimes someone at church. Sometimes it's a professional or someone we pay. As far as church goes, we can ask for help from each other in many ways. You can ask friends. You can reach out to me anytime, or any of our staff or affiliate ministers. You can reach out to the various care ministries, including the parish friends, the addiction ministry team, the pastoral care associates who you heard about. When we looked at those lists, there's some 90 people in the congregation who are here to formally offer help. And that's beautiful. But it also tells me there's 90 people willing to give help. And often we ask ourselves, and who among us is asking for that help at the same time? In reality, we are all here to ask for and receive help from each other. That's one of the beautiful things about being part of a community, a spiritual community, and belonging.